Today, my friends, we are going to do a controversial video. We are going to talk about some controversial topics, and if you're easily triggered, you might want to click off now because you might be feeling a little scared, a little intimidated, a little vulnerable. But today I'm going to talk about something that I haven't seen anybody else on YouTube or the internet really talking about, and that is how the illegal immigrants could be affecting housing prices and specifically rent prices. But that's in the short term. In the long term, it'll be overall housing prices. I want to talk about the number of immigrants, legal and illegal. We're going to talk about the number of housing starts and the number of just housing options that are out there, because the biggest challenge people are facing when they're trying to buy or rent something today is lack of inventory. And so let's talk about how illegal immigrants could be causing a surge in prices.
Shut up and sit down.
So I told you guys before, what I like to try to do on this channel is not regurgitate the same 6 reasons why you should retire as soon as possible videos that the other people are sort of making. I want to try to do thought-provoking ideas here on this channel, because this is the retirement mentality, a place where I want to change the mentality about retirement. We do that a lot through, we talk a lot about doing that through investing in real estate, which is how I was able to retire, by buying one house every year, keeping it as a rental, and then living off of that income. Now I have what I call recreational employment. I still do work. I do this YouTube channel. I do some other things to have a little bit of money coming in, but I can easily live off the income from my rental properties. So I haven't talked too much about real estate lately, and so I want to talk about this idea of what the illegal immigrant crisis could be causing the housing crisis in this country. I haven't seen anybody else talking about this idea. So I want to just talk a little bit about the numbers. And so I'm going to read you a couple of statistics, and I'll put them up on the screen here while I read them. Let's start with this statistic. I asked the Google machine, like, how many immigrant families there are in the U.S. And it says immigrants and their U.S. born children number approximately 90.8 million people, or 27% of the total civilian non-institutionalized U.S. population in 2023. This is an increase of approximately 14.7 million people since 2010. This is an interesting statistic. I'm going to come back to this. Remember, so that says that's 14.7 million people increase over the last 13 years. Now, I don't believe this to be quite a factual statement based on some more statistics that we're going to look at. And here's why. Let's look at this statistic. It says 2.6 million people, about the same as the population of Chicago, legally immigrate to the U.S. in 2022. This exceeded the number of new entries in any year from 2018 to 21, but just below the recent high of 2.7 million. Basically, the number of U.S. immigrants that come into this country every year is just shy of 3 million. So if you looked at 13 years times 3 million, that gives you over 30 million people. So that number that they gave us was half of that. But anyway, let's say that the legal number of migrants into the U.S. each year is about 3 million. Okay, so that's a quick overview of basically how many legal immigrants have been coming into the country and how many legal immigrants are already here. We all know that the middle class is being pulled from all directions financially. Buying a home is virtually impossible for most people, they say on the news today, because interest rates are up, inventories are down, competition is still high. People who own existing homes aren't selling them because they have low interest rates, so they're not adding new homes into the inventory. They're staying put, so they're not moving around to open up new inventory. And a lot of people are buying, when they do go to buy a new home, they keep their existing home as a rental property because they do have that low interest rate, so they actually can make some money as an investment property. So when they do that, they're taking 2 homes out of the inventory equation. So it's really up to new home starts to alleviate the problem with home prices and home affordability, and just how and to stop the bottleneck of the inventory problem in the housing sector. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the housing shortage, and this is going to apply for rentals and for purchasing. More on the purchasing side, but we'll get a little more into the rental side. But it says according to the National Association of Realtors, the United States is currently experiencing a housing shortage of between 5.5 million and 6.8 million units. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that about 1.4 million new residential units will be completed in 2023. I'm going to back this up with data because that's, I believe, is a true statistic. New construction has failed to keep pace with the demand for housing for a number of reasons, including supply chains from COVID, labor restraints, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things to do with zoning. People, like different cities and especially metro areas, are limiting what you can build as far as single family homes. And so all these things combine to cause problems in the housing shortage. In 2023, there was only about 4.1 million existing home sales that were sold. I mean, so a house that was a couple years old, somebody lived in it, somebody sold it. Only 4.1 million transactions in 2023 versus in 2021, there was 6.1 million transactions. So that's 2 million less transactions as a percentage wise. That's a pretty big percentage dip in existing home sales that has been decreased. Okay, so that's a little bit about the housing shortage. We have between 5.5 million and 6.7 or 8 million, whatever it said, deficit in number of housing units available. So we're talking about the market is 6 million units shy of what it needs to meet the capacity of the demand. And so if we've decided most people in existing homes aren't selling their homes, we have to count on new home starts. Let's look at what the new home starts have looked like over the last couple of years. So I'll pop this up on the screen here. You can see in 2023, there was 1.4 million permits issued, 1.493 and 1.419 actual housing starts. So let's just look at the starts because obviously some people pull a permit, something happens, they don't actually build the house. So we'll just look at the starts. So we'll go down the last couple of years. In 2020, oops, I moved my computer screen. In 2022, 1.5 million starts. In 2021, 1.6 million starts. So you can see we're building actually more houses than we have if you go back to 2014, only a million, a million one, a million one, a million two. So we're building more houses than normal, but we're still only building 1.5 million, and we have a 6 million house deficit. So you can see where the shortage is not going to be, we're not going to make up for the difference with new housing starts at least. So let's link this into my topic of this video, which is illegal immigrants coming into the country. Okay, so I'll pop this up on the screen here as well. You can see that encounters at the southwest border increased by over 40% over the previous year. Last month, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported a 40% increase compared to September 2021 and 18% compared to 2022. And these percentages don't mean a lot, so let's talk about the actual numbers of people. Since President Biden took office, there have been 7.5 million encounters in all of the U.S. borders, not just the southwest border along Texas or California, but the whole Canada, the whole border, or even coming in boats through Florida or North Carolina or wherever they're coming in from. So that's 7.5 million encounters nationwide, 6.2 of those along the southwest border, in addition to 1.7 gotaways that they didn't encounter, that they're guessing 1.7 have got in, just slipped under the radar, and nobody knows who they are, where they are, what they're doing. And I think that number is probably pretty low, but 7.5, 8.5, that puts it at 9.2 million if you add the 7.5 encounters plus the 1.7 million gotaways. So that puts it at 9. A lot of people estimate there's at least 10 million illegals that have gotten into the country since Biden has been president here. So if we've got an influx of 10 million people plus the legal immigrants, which is about another 3 million, that's over the last 3 years, that's another 9 million. So that puts us pretty close to 20 million new people needing housing in this country in the last 3.5 years or so. So if we're at a deficit of 6 million houses needed to fill the demand, we're building 1.5 million houses roughly per year. And if we divide 20 million by, we'll even give Biden a little credit, we'll divide 20 million by 4 years. We'll say nobody else is coming in from now till the end of his presidency. That's 5 million per year. We got a $6 million deficit. We got 5 million new people coming into the country every year, and we're building 1.5 million new houses. You can see how this is a recipe for disaster as far as the inventory problem that we're having. And if inventory is the main thing driving up prices, you know, if a lot of people are waiting for interest rates to come down, but the truth is if interest rates do come down, demand is going to skyrocket. And with the low inventory that we already have, it's going to make prices shoot even higher. So all the people on the sidelines waiting to hope that prices are going to come down, which they're not, hoping that interest rates are going to come down, which they're not. People just are going to eventually wrap their mind around it and slowly kind of come back into the market. And that may be a good thing, I think, for the real estate market, because it's not going to cause prices to shoot up. I think the market will just kind of absorb the new buyers coming in, and there won't be any big catastrophic events of like rates dipping by 2% and demand spiking by 30% or something to that effect. But this is a new idea that I haven't seen floated around the internet very much. What do you guys think? Do you think that illegal immigrants could be causing housing prices to spike? I know a lot of these people coming into the market are going to be on the rental side. So it's definitely making rents go up. And as an investor, do you want to rent to illegals? Would you rent to somebody who doesn't have any documentation, or they get social security numbers, but they're not going to have any kind of you're not going to be able to do a background check. You're not going to see any kind of financial information. But if they're driving up rental prices, maybe it means investors can make more money. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment down below on if you think that it's a drop in the bucket, they don't have any effect, or they think that they actually are affecting prices. And even if they're renters today, they're going to be buyers eventually, because they're not going anywhere. They're getting absorbed into the country, into the system, and they're going to give them a pathway to citizenship more than likely. So one day they'll be home buyers, and that's 20 million new home buyers that you're going to be competing with over the next few years. So let me know your thoughts down below. If you like this video, I got one that's a little bit lighter subject matter. You can go watch this one over here. And if you're triggered, be sure to leave me a comment down below and tell me why you got triggered in this video. Thanks for watching.